So welcome to all of you. First off, my name is Linda, and I'm here with Kevin. And we are here to learn two things, WebEx meetings and WebEx teams. But before we get going, I just want to kind of give you a familiarity of what you're in now and some of the buttons you'll be pushing. So I'm glad you're here and ready to get going because I don't want to talk all day. I want you to do things. So first off, what you should be seeing on your screen is probably the predominant screen. It says WebEx meetings, WebEx teams. It's kind of like a teal blue screen. It's a PowerPoint presentation. If you move your mouse a little bit, just kind of wiggle it around, what we'll see is a little toolbar at the bottom that has a couple of buttons on it. Kind of wiggle your mouse and you'll see it. Click on two buttons for me. One looks like a head, a person. And if you push that button over to your right, you'll see a list of people and your name is on it. So that's the participant list. And I want you to see that today because we'll be doing things with it. So push that button. And the next one next to it looks like a little bubble. It's the chat panel. Push that one. And that one you'll need because that's how you're going to communicate. So if you have any questions or any comments, put them in the chat area because right now I'm muting your line. I'm starting to record. I just wanted to make sure that there's no background noise. So your lines are muted, but ask questions along the way, and you can do that by writing them down. So now over on the right, you're going to see the participant list and the chat area. Good. Now, next thing, if you kind of wiggle your mouse around a little bit, what you'll see, and this is just a screenshot I took, is a bar that looks like that. So I'm pointing to something right now. Move your mouse a little bit. So over on the left corner. And there's a button that looks like a little squiggle, like a little worm. Push it. Next to it will pop up a bar of different tools. These are called annotation tools, and you can use them. Matter of fact, I use them all the time. I'm using it right now to point to the screen. So as an example of why you'd use that, if you are presenting in a meeting and you wanted to point something out like I am, now you have tools to do it. To experiment, I just got out a whiteboard, like a whiteboard or a blackboard. Try it. Point around on the screen. If you want to try some of the other tools, there's drawing tools you can use to draw with. So try it out and see if it works. Yay! Beautiful picture. Perfect. All right. I like using those tools all the time, especially if I'm presenting, because people can easily see what you're talking about that way. All right, now I'm going to switch us out of that whiteboard back to the PowerPoint presentation. So those are the tools we're going to use today. Now, as far as what you're going to learn today, every time people hear the word WebEx, sometimes they get confused because WebEx has a lot of different products. WebEx Meetings is one of the products that you're in right now, and we're going to be learning first. So think about WebEx Meetings as a place you would go with some people to talk and collaborate and share ideas and work on different things. There's also one for large events, hundreds and hundreds of people, or for training people, or for doing technical support. But today we're concentrating on the very first product that WebEx came out with, and that's meetings. Now, all these four at the top have something in common. They're synchronous. So you're with people live, talking like we're doing now, working on things together. But after you're meeting with somebody, sometimes your thought process goes on and you want to add to what was going on in the meeting and you want to share more things. You sort of want to continue that conversation. That's WebEx Teams. So these are the two products we're going to work on today. I'm starting with WebEx Meetings, and this is the agenda. So everything you would need to know to have a meeting like I'm having today. So how do you schedule it, invite the people? You already know how to join because here you are. So step number one off, we did that one. But how to start it. And then once you get in, you already know how to connect to the audio, but there are some audio functions that as the host, as the instigator of this meeting, I can control. So I'll show you some of those audio functionalities and some of the features that you'll use when you're inside a meeting. And then you heard earlier I muted your line because I'm recording. How do you do that? And where does it go? So that's the 3 points we're going to hit up. Let's start at the beginning. How does this whole thing start? Well, first of all, it depends on you. You have some choices to think about because there's two different types of meetings. There's a scheduled meeting with a unique URL, and there's a personal meeting room with the same URL. So what does that all mean? Think real world. Let's pretend that you live in California, across the street from me. So it's almost 8 o'clock in the morning right now. It's kind of partly cloudy. I live in a cul-de-sac, nice neighbors around, and you were one of them. You live right across the street. So I say to you, there's this movie coming out on Friday, and I thought we could go. So why don't you come over to my house, say like around 5:30, and then we'll hit the movie from there. Well, the only thing you need to say is, okay, I'll see you at 5:30, because you know where I live. So you're coming over to my house, and we're going to the movies. Matter of fact, you can come over to my house before Friday, because I'm across the street. That's a personal meeting room. You have one. It's the same place. It's your house. People can come, people can go. You can tell somebody, come on over. They know where you are. Today, though, you're not in my house. You're at a restaurant. And here's how the restaurant goes. Friday's a good movie. I say to you, you know what? There's a good movie on Friday. And you still live across the street from me, right? So I say, good movie on Friday. There's a new restaurant in town. So why don't you meet me at the restaurant, say around 5:30. The address is 123 Main Street. It's called Junior's. So meet me over there at 5:30, and then we'll go to the movies. That was a little bit different because you didn't know where. So I had to give you the address and the name of the restaurant. That's a unique URL. So that's what you're in today. The way you can test it out to make sure I'm telling you the truth is after we finish today, after this hour is over, go back to your invitation and click on the meeting URL that you clicked on to join me and see what happens, because you won't be able to. It'll tell you that this meeting has ended. So this type of a meeting that has a unique URL, when your meeting is over with, it ends and they can't reuse that URL. But if I had this meeting in my personal meeting room, you could actually click on my URL and go into it. I wouldn't be there, but you could still go into it. So it's the same thing over and over again. So very often, most people will use their personal meeting room for meetings because it's just easier. It's the same URL. You already know what it is. People know what it is if they've been to your meetings before. So I'll show you where to go to use either one of these and how to get that URL. But I just wanted you to know, first of all, there are two different types. Secondly, when you figure out which type you want to use, then there's a couple of ways that you schedule your meeting. There's actually 3. You can go to your WebEx site. If you've never been there before, well, you have one. Matter of fact, I just put the URL in chat. So if you look over to your right in chat, you'll see the URL there. It's umaryland.webex.com. It's not on the World Wide Web, so you don't type in the wwws in front of it. So you could go there, sign in, start a meeting. You could also, from your WebEx site, download the desktop app. From the desktop app, you can start your meeting, schedule a meeting, join your meetings right from the app. That download also downloads the WebEx productivity tools that you'll find in Outlook. And you could schedule a meeting and join meetings from Outlook. So whatever way is more convenient for you, but you've got 3 different ways you can do that. So let me stop there and let's go see this in action, because this was just PowerPoint. Let me actually share with you my computer and we'll take a look at everything that's there. All right, so first off, Remember, we talked about there's two different kinds, the personal meeting room and the scheduled meeting with a different URL. This is my WebEx site. That's your WebEx site. Looks a little bit different only because I can't use your WebEx site. I can go to your WebEx site and I can join meetings if you give me the meeting room number, but I can't because I didn't sign in. So you'll need to sign in to your WebEx site first of all to use it. It'll be usually your email address and whatever it is you use to sign into your network devices. Once you sign in, then it'll look more like this. Come on. There we go. So you can see from here I have a couple of choices. I could start a meeting right now. So if I wanted to get to a meeting, push the button. Matter of fact, you should do that. When you want to practice, just go to your WebEx site and click on Start Meeting. Get in there. And just push the buttons, click around, do some of the things I did today just to practice. If you're on the phone with somebody, which I am quite a bit, I might say to them, you know what, this isn't working out. I need to show you what I'm talking about. Let's just get into a meeting. I push Start Meeting, and I'm in it. And then I take my personal meeting room URL, and I do something with it. I could email it to the person I'm on the phone with. I could put it in an instant message to the person I'm on the phone. However I need to communicate, I can give it to them that way. So in this more ways to join, you'll see all the information. Your URL, the meeting number, the address for people who are on video systems, the phone numbers, all that stuff. So that's your personal meeting room, and this will always be the same. So it'll be your WebEx site /meet/your name. If you want to join somebody's meeting, again, you can just put in there the meeting room number. If you want to schedule a meeting for later, you could do that too. You could use your personal meeting room and go to your Outlook and schedule it for later. Or this schedule a meeting actually creates that unique URL. That's that restaurant. So here I put in basic information, the topic, a password if I want to put in a password, the date, the time, and then the email addresses or address of the people that or person I'm inviting. And that then sends them an Outlook invitation or an email invitation, whatever it is they're using, with the URL to join. To start a meeting, they'll be here on your WebEx site, and there's the start button for this one that's coming up later on today. So this is how you schedule, start, and join meetings from your WebEx site. I'm actually in one of the different views that you have on your WebEx site. It's the modern view. If you take a look over to your left where my mouse is, there's actually a classic view. You might like this view better. Same options here, start meetings, same things. Now, one of the things that you might notice when you go over to your WebEx site is this download capability. And this is where you can download the other two ways to do all of this. If you don't want to go to your WebEx site every time to start, join, and schedule meetings, then download those other devices or those other options that you have. For example, if we go to my desktop, I downloaded the WebEx app. There it is. So from here, if I open it up, I don't have to go to my WebEx site. I could start my meeting from here, and that would say start if I wasn't already in a meeting. I can go to the calendar, and I can schedule a meeting with that little blue dot. And after my meeting is over with, if I recorded it, that's where the recordings will be. So scheduling, starting, joining, all in one place. If you're in Outlook more than you are on your desktop or on your browser, then do it from Outlook. That download will download a productivity tool, actually some buttons that you probably don't recognize because they don't look like Outlook buttons. And they're these two. This Meet Now is like pushing that green button. It starts your meeting immediately. It's that product, it's the personal meeting room. This schedule meeting schedules it for later, and that's the unique URL. Or you might want to schedule a meeting for later in your personal meeting room. So either one of these, and now you're doing it right from Outlook. You could actually go into your Outlook calendar, go to a date, go to a time, and do it this way too. So adding a WebEx meeting then populates all of this for you with all the instructions, the date, the time, whatever. And this would be for a meeting that's a different URL. So I've got to give it a password, options about audio, that sort of stuff. And that's really all there is to it. You'll start your meetings. If you schedule them from Outlook, you'll start them in Outlook too. You'll just go to the day and the time of your meeting and click on the URL that way as well. So pretty easy to do. And again, if you want to practice and get into a meeting really quick, I would just go to your WebEx site and click on Start Meeting. And that way you can get into a meeting, even if it's by yourself, and just kind of push the buttons and see what it does. So step number 1, you got to get in. I don't see any questions in chat, so I'm moving on. Okay, now what happens? You're in. It's like this. This is what it looks like. It's like, now what do I do? Well, first of all, if you invited somebody, then you need to talk to them. There's got to be audio. And how they connect to audio, I don't know. It's up to them. They've got some choices. For example, today when you joined me, how did you connect to the audio? Did you dial the phone number on the email invitation and connect to the audio that way? Or did you join the web portion? Because if you joined the web portion, it gave you some options too. So this is what I did. What did you do? And here you can point. If you go back to your annotation tools that we used earlier, remember that toolbar with tools? Point to what you did. And Tiara, if you tried logging into your site and it says you're not authorized, either you're putting in the wrong information or I'm not sure what that is, Laverne.
That's okay. Tiara?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kevin's going to check for you, Tiara, to see if you have make sure you have a license.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah. So we can go ahead and as soon as the session is over, I'll take a look and make sure that she has a license assigned.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, so a couple of you dialed in first, a couple of you used your computer. No big deal. There's no right and wrong answer here. It's good, glad, perfect, love it. Now, you can hear, I can hear, the world's all happy. You can mute, I can mute, everybody's happy. I told you I was going to mute all of you, but you could mute yourself, and you could unmute yourself. And you can tell who's muted because if you look at the participant list by your name, there's like a little red microphone. That means you're muted. Now, the reason I'm even mentioning audio is because if you're having a meeting, you're actually a host. And as a host, you want to make sure that the environment is nice, right? That everybody can hear, everybody's happy. It's your responsibility to make sure that the meeting goes well. It's your meeting. And sometimes things don't go so well. Matter of fact, has anybody ever put you on hold and then all of a sudden hold music starts to play? Or a dog's barking in the background? Or people are talking to each other? And now you're having to talk real loud over them because you've got this noise in the background? That doesn't sound like a very good thing to do. I would think as a host, you should be able to control that. And as you can see, I'm not controlling anything. So I'm at the mercy right now of that person who just put us on hold and has that whole music playing in the background. Not a good thing. So as the host, what can you do about it? Well, here's what you can do. If you take a look at the participant list again, and you take a look at the very top where my name is, I don't have a red microphone because I didn't mute my line or you wouldn't hear me. But do you see kind of like little blue sound waves coming out of where my microphone should be? You see that? Kind of like little sound waves coming in and out. Good. Well, that tells you where the sound's coming from. So if somebody's got hold music or the dog barking or whatever, look for that little sound wave and immediately go and mute their line. And then you control it. You're the hero. However, let me take you over to my world. Let's go over to my screen here for just a second. All right. So this is what I'm seeing over here. My mouse is moving around so you can see. So I can see Kevin's connected with his computer. I can see Jennifer on my computer. I can see, I don't know what that is. I can see Barbara on a computer. My second computer, that's my other computer. So everybody's pretty good. They all have audio. Oh, Mickey. So I would think that Mickey can't hear a word, and we can't talk to Mickey at all. Too bad. Because Mickey's not connected to the audio. You can see there's no little symbol by Mickey. Or is there? When somebody calls in first, their phone goes into WebEx. That's what the call-in users are. Anytime you see a call-in user, that's somebody that called in first and then joined the web portion. It still works. They can hear everything. It's just you as a host. If you're muting a line, like if I mute call-in user 5, who did I mute? You know, what if you have 5 people here? You've got 5 call-in users, and you have to mute one of them. You won't know who that was. That's the only downfall of people calling in first. So think again, real world. If you were in a conference room, you're going to wait until you get inside the conference room to talk to everybody. You can't be talking to them down the hall somewhere. So kind of do the same best practice here. Get into a meeting first, and you'll get connected to the audio. And then it'll also ask you, do you want to connect to video? Some of you did, so thanks for doing that, Jennifer. Some of you didn't. No big deal, but I like it because I can see Jennifer now. I feel, more connected to her. There's more of a camaraderie. It's more personal. Also, meetings that are held with video end sooner. So if you're spending your lives meeting with people, turn on your video. And the reason why is because there's not that delay in people talking over each other, because you can see when somebody's clearly finished with their thought, and they're taking a breath. So that'll cut down on some of that stuff. So if all you want to do is talk and show video, then you're good. You're in WebEx, everybody's talking, looking at video, everybody's happy. Most of the time, that's not all you do. You want to share something. You have 2 ways. You can go up to the menu bar at the top and click on Share. So if you look way up at the top, you'll see File, Edit, Share, View. If you click on Share, you'll see the menu. So that's how you share. Another way is move your mouse around again to the bottom. Remember that little bar you got at the bottom? There's a button that looks like an arrow. It's pointing up. That's how you share. So share something. Yep, Jennifer's saying you can't. I can see her mouth. You can't, that's right. It's because of who you are. So there's roles in a meeting. The host is the person that invited you, right? So scheduling the meeting, starting the meeting, all those things I showed you in the beginning, that's the role of the host. The host usually records the meeting. The host can mute and unmute and do all those things. The other thing the host does is become a presenter. When you start a meeting, you're the first person in there. So by default, WebEx also makes you a presenter. And the presenter is the one that shares. So right now I'm a dual role. I'm hosting and I'm presenting. If I want to let you present and I want you to share, I can make you a presenter and give you tools to use. If you want to present, you can. I can make you a presenter. Or you can just make yourself a presenter. It really all depends. It depends on the host. When you start a meeting, you have a choice. Do you want to decide who the presenters are? Or do you want them just to present whenever they want to? And it really depends on your meeting. If it's a more formalized meeting, then stay in control and don't let someone just grab control and present. Make it more formal where they have to ask you. But if it's just a meeting amongst yourselves, then don't bother. Just let them share something whenever they want to. How do you do that? I'll show you. I'm on my screen right now, so flipping back over again. I'm on the menu. So here we are on Share, Audio, View, Participant, Meeting, all that stuff. Here on Participant, where all my muting and unmuting capabilities are, you're going to see anyone can share. By default, that's on. That's always on by default. So that means if you want to share, all you do is share and you become a presenter. I turned it off because I didn't want you inadvertently doing it, but I'm turning it on right now. And now you can. So if you want to share something, you can go to the share menu and pick share content, and you can pick something. My screen is your whole computer, like I shared with you before. These things are things that I have running in the background, so just an application. If I scroll further down, I can share just a file or other applications that I didn't open up or a whiteboard. Most people share their desktop. If you don't want to share with the share menu at the top, you can go down to the bottom, and remember that button that has a little arrow pointing down? You can click on share there. So now, because this is on, anyone can share. That means that I'm automatically letting you make yourself a presenter. So try it. So I've been sharing enough. It's your turn. So either go to the share menu or push the button that looks like an arrow and share something. And when somebody does, you'll actually see that little ball moving around. So let's see if somebody shares something. Who's the brave one? Somebody's doing it. There we go. Oh, I like that slide. It's an awesome slide, actually. Who's presenting? Anybody tell? I like this deck, actually, Tiara. It's Tiara. Look at the participant list over to your right. She's got the ball, and she's going to keep it unless you take it away from her. So if you want it, now's your chance. Scaredy cats. All right, I'm going to grab it back. So all I'm doing is taking the ball back my way. You can see I've got the ball now. So that's predominantly what you do in a meeting. That's all there is to it. You share content. If you're hosting and somebody wasn't there, more than likely they're going to ask you, I missed it. Did you record it? You might as well. I mean, it's just a button. Just push it. Now, that blue dot, you're not going to see that. And that's because you're not the host. But when you move your mouse down at the bottom and that bar of buttons pops up, that's the recorder button. So I pushed it a few minutes ago. I'm going to push it again before we go, and I'll be able to give you the recording. But where is it? That's the question. Let me share again my screen with you. It depends. It depends where it is. For example, remember I showed you about the desktop app? So if you go to your desktop app, it'll be in that little box right there, recordings. If you go into Outlook, you'll get an email message from Outlook that tells you it's ready. And when it's ready, it's actually taking you to your WebEx site to My Recorded Meetings. So all those three ways I showed you, you can still get your recording those three ways. Your WebEx site, Outlook email, or your desktop app. So here I am on my WebEx site. These are all my recorded meetings. Give it some time. Sometimes it's quick, it's 5 minutes. Sometimes it's 30 minutes. They all record as MP4 files. Here they all are. I can play it back. I can email it to somebody. I can delete it if I'm not using it. And the URL goes right in there. Matter of fact, if you click on the name of it, you can even copy the URL and paste it into something else. You've got the ability for them to just stream it or to keep it, to download it. So recordings are awesome. That way nobody misses anything. So that's kind of the story of the I've got to meet somebody. Now, just to let you know, the power of this, you actually have the ability to meet somebody right in your pocket. At Christmas time, I was in line at Macy's, at a long line. I waited until the end to buy something. And there's a guy in front of me on his phone with earbuds. I saw kind of things moving around. I said, what's he doing on YouTube or something? And I was bored, so I just kind of creeped up behind him. Guess what he was doing? He was in a WebEx meeting, because you can download the WebEx tool from either Google Play or from the Apple Store. So you can be in a meeting. You can join meetings. You can register for meetings. You can start meetings. Everything I just showed you, you can do from your mobile app. So that's something that you might want to think about, especially if you meet, like, on your way home, you leave early and, you want to miss a meeting. Get into your meeting from your car. Just don't watch it. Listen to it. All right, now, everything we've talked about so far is the synchronous piece, right? You're meeting, you're talking, you're together, everybody's happy, blah, 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 and the meeting ends. We're done. Recording's finished. We're all over with. But you got some more ideas. I've got some more ideas. I want to share with you things. And we're not meeting until next week. And I've got some things I want to share with you. What do you do then? Because your brain doesn't stop when the meeting ends. You want to keep going, keep the conversation going, keep the collaboration going. That's what Teams is. That's WebEx Teams. So if you think about WebEx Teams is really, the slide really says it, it's removing any geographic boundaries. That means you can easily share resources, communicate with students, faculty, staff, parents. It's a way to bridge that gap between the live meeting, or think about the live classroom, and what happens outside of campus. It's a bridge between the two things. You'll see it in a minute, and everyone could really use it. So, for example, for yourselves, you can access each other and also faculty and students and external resources too from any device at any time, which simplifies your processes, your workflows. It'll save you travel time, of course, expenses. If you're going from one part of the campus to the other, you won't have to do that anymore. So when you're working on projects with different people, this is going to be the key for you. For students, they can stay connected whether they're inside or outside the classroom. So they're staying on top of their assignments no matter where they are. They can have access to each other. They can track each other's assignments. They can connect to the instructor. They can ask for help. Recordings can be posted in there. They can access lectures. I mean, everybody could use this. It's just a way of continuing what happens in the live experience. So it's an enhancement to the live piece. And like the slide says, it's a continuous place. It's a virtual, continuous, Cisco secure place where you can continue collaboration. So while you're meeting in the live piece, you can come here and start that conversation or those ideas from where you left off. So that's what WebEx Teams really is all about. So let me share with you again my screen, because that's where all the action is. So this is WebEx Teams. It's a black and a white screen, basically. The black side are the people that I work with, and the white side is how we're communicating. So here on the left in the black area, I have maybe a person I work with a lot, like Kevin and I, we work together a lot, or I have a lot of people I work with. So Kathy's one person, but this community playground is a lot of people. These areas on the left are called spaces. So as I click on the left, look at the right. See how it changes? So these are all people I contact. If you've never used Teams before, the area on the left will be black. There'll be nothing there. You have to either be invited to a space by somebody, or you create a space yourself. But there's not going to be a list of spaces for you and you say, oh, community playground, I think I'll go there. You've got to be invited to that. So first things first, create a space with somebody. So all of you in here should know each other and work together. Create a space. To do that, there's a white button with a plus sign. All you do is push the button and create a space. You got two ways of doing it. Contact a person is a space with one person. It can't grow. It's like a small phone booth. Create a space is a space with multiple people. Now, sometimes I create a space with one person so that I can add more people later on. So I'll give it a name. I'll call it, test space. And I'll add people. And as soon as I start typing in words, people start popping up. These are the people that I work with. When you do this, these are people that you work with that have teams. Now, you might also be working with people that are external. That's okay, add them. You won't see them on that list, but you can add them if you know their email address, like john@gmail.com. And now I add John. So I've got two internal, one external. As soon as I click on create, I've created a space along with my other ones. Now, good old John, I don't know if John actually has WebEx Teams or not. If he doesn't, he'll get an email with a link where he can download the free version, and then he'll be in a space with me. If you've been invited to a space, you'll know, because right next to the name of the space will be a little blue, like a door, and that's how you'll know that there's a space there that you've been invited to. And once you're in a space, well, that's where the action begins. Down here at the right, it tells you, write a message to teams. So all these things you see here are messages that people have written. Matter of fact, there's a whiteboard somebody drew. Keep going up. There's actually documentation somebody put in there. There's URLs that people put in there. And isn't it interesting that I can scroll up to the very top of the space and see where it started? Anytime you add somebody to a space, even if the space is a year old, they can still scroll up to the very top and see everything that transpired. So all the content you put in here is persistent. And all of it can be downloaded right there. So every space that I have has information that I want. Here's my community playground. Come up here. Here's some other things, like this one. I might want this one. Let me take that one. Down here is how you do it. So you'd write a message here. This is to add an attachment, a screen capture, format text, and put in emojis and symbols and GIFs and @mention somebody. If you see me moving my mouse around here to the right, you'll see some symbols. This lets me write below it. So if I want to add something to this, I could say, thank you. And now it's threaded. This other option lets me flag it for later. Like this is a message I sent to Nicole. I might want to add more to that, but not right now. I'm going to flag it for later. And this allows me to delete it. Now, notice I can't have an X here, but I do there. That's because this is what I wrote, and that's not me. You can delete your own text, but not somebody else's. So all this information from all these different spaces I have now give me the ability to be able to continue that collaboration, continue those ideas. Matter of fact, if you take a look over to your right corner where I am right now, I have more options. Files, for example, shows me all the files that are in this particular space without all the text. Here's another space. Go back to files, more files. Can also look at people. These are the people in that space. And everybody in that space can add more people. They can also right-click and remove people. Now, sometimes I don't care. I like that. I'm not sure I added everybody, so I'll say, if I forgot somebody, just add them. But if you don't like that, then at the top of your space where the name of it is a little I. And in there, it gives you the ability to moderate a space. If you moderate a space, then only you are allowed to add or remove people. So you can stop that from happening if you want to. The other thing that I also have in there, besides the people and the files, I have whiteboarding capabilities, because sometimes it's just easier to draw something. So these are some whiteboards that were already created. If I create a brand new whiteboard, I have drawing capabilities. So from here, I could say, here's the new building, but we're going to move over here to this part of the campus. There's the other building, and to get there, it's 1, 2, 3 blocks, and then curve around, you'll be right there. So now I've got the ability to be able to draw on there, and at this point, I could post that snapshot to my space. So now if I go back, there it is. If you look where my spaces are over on the left, there's actually a magnifying glass there, because if you think about all the spaces you're going to have and all the content, you can search. You can search on words. So it's looking for people and spaces with the names, COLL. You can look for messages with that word in it, messages from all your spaces, or specific files from all those spaces. You can even refine them and search inside of a certain space, search for messages from a certain person, or search for spaces that you're in with other people. So for example, very often I want to find out, gosh, I think I'm with my boss in some spaces. What spaces am I in with her? There we go, Heidi Rhodes. These are the spaces we have in common. You can also, besides doing searches, help yourself to organize. Remember a few minutes ago I flagged something? Well, here's what I do as a general rule of thumb. First thing in the morning, I come up here and I filter by unread. What haven't I read? Because sometimes I have people from other parts of the country and they were working while I was sleeping. So I have 4 spaces with things I haven't read. And go in there and catch up and say, oh, okay, there's that new message. Oh, thank you for this, whatever. Then throughout the day, I could look at all my spaces, or I could stay in my favorites. And favorites are spaces that you're in a lot. How does it know? Right here at the title. You'll notice that that's a little star. If I push it and make it gold, I've made it my favorite. So spaces that I'm in all the time, I mark them as my favorites and I stay in there throughout the day. So I'm not scrolling through everything. The other thing that I do is at the end of the day, I check my flags. What was it during the day that I wanted to remember? And these are the things. Remember how I clicked on that flag? This is that message I wanted to write to Nicole. Oh, that's right. I wanted to add a little bit more to this. And I flag it. So those filtering abilities will help you. Well, I'm going to say my favorites. There we go. Those are my 2 favorites, actually. All right, so now you can see the collaboration that's going to take place with this communication that's going back and forth, sharing files, sharing documents, commenting on them. However, sometimes I might want to say, hey, Nico, you got a second? And just call them. How you do that? Easy. Come up here and click on Meet. Now, as soon as you push the Start with Video button, it's going to place a video call to the people in your space immediately. So the computer will ring or your phone will ring or whatever it is that you've got your Teams installed on, it's going to ring. But just be careful when you push that Meet button, because it's not going to call Nico. It's going to call these 6 people, because these are the people that are in that space. So if you have a meeting every day at 3 or every Friday at 3, then push the meet button. It'll place that video call quickly to everybody's in there. If you just want to make a call just to Nico, because Nico's in that space, if I hover over anybody, a little card pops up, and then I'll click on call and place that video call. So we're talking from our computers and seeing each other. Now, I do want to meet with all 6 of these people, but not now, later. That's what meetings is. Meetings schedules a meeting with everybody for later. How does it do that? Well, I'm going to click on that schedule meeting button, and look what's happening in my toolbar. Outlook just opened up. It did this on its own just now. It addressed this email to all 6 of those people. All I have to do is change the date and the time. Here's the URL to join, the SIP address for video, the phone numbers to call into. Easy as that. I could even add people to this too if I wanted to, even though if they weren't in the space. I could add an external person. Now, what's the difference between doing this and doing meetings? Well, this is more for meeting with the people that you've been collaborating with all the time, the people that are in your space where you want to continue that collaboration. The other thing also is, when we're talking about meetings and documents and sharing things, as you start using this more and more and more, you're going to get lots of different spaces out here. And sometimes the spaces relate to each other in some way. For example, let's say you're working on a project and it's a large project and you got a space for each of those pieces of the project. Then you're maneuvering a lot in these different spaces. If that's happening, here's a tip to organize. It's called Teams, even though we're in Teams. So don't be confused with the name. The software is Teams, but we're going to use another piece of it called Teams. Over here on your left, you'll see all this time I've been in a blue house. Right below it is another button. This is Teams. And these little cards, these little tiles, are like little containers where I'm keeping all my spaces. For example, this is just an example of a geography class. This is a way a professor might use Teams. So Mr. Johnson has a geography class. The team members are his students. So everybody he's added now has access to this general space. So no different than what I just showed you. They can add things, they can message, whatever. But this geography class has a lot of different topics. They're learning about France and Greece and Italy and Japan. So based on the students, their assignment is to do research on a particular country. So here, I have access to France and Greece. So I can see all the things that are going on. Here's information about Greece. If I go to France, here's information about the French Empire. Italy and Japan is there, but I don't see it because I have to join it. So as a team member, I can join any of these spaces I want to. If I join Italy and say, yeah, I want to join this one, now I have access to all the stuff that was going on there. So it's a little bit different. I've got everything in one spot. Here's another example. Here's one of an organization I belong to called Connected Women. We're all part of General. But I also wanted to be part of some of these other areas. This is the Connected Women for America, for Washington, for San Jose. But if I wanted to, I could join 14 others. Like maybe I want to join the one in Israel. That's what's going on in Israel. I'll join that one. So again, here you sort of have to think your process. How will you organize things? Here's another thing I've done in the past. I create a brand new team, and let's call it offsite. Let's say I'm having a company offsite. So there it is. It's just a box, and it created a general space. Now I add all of you. I just add your email address. So now you're accessing the general space. But what good is that? Because I could do that in the other way. Here's why. I'm now inside that team going to create a space for hotel, another one for catering, another one for transportation, another one for guest speakers. Because remember, this is a company offsite. We're going to go to a hotel. We've got to take care of catering. We've got to figure out how we're going to transport all the people. There's going to be guest speakers. So all of these are spaces about the offsite. And my team members, they can join whatever space is appropriate. So if you're in charge of the hotel, then you're going to stay in that space. But later on, the people in the transportation are going to need to know what hotel they're going to. So they might want to go into transportation. So just think about this structure as you start building your spaces here. If they all have one thing in common, they might think about putting them all together in one particular space. And remember, you can create a space, and in people, you can add more people along the way, internal or external. So to start off with, what I would do is I'd come to your teams, create a space with either a person or a group of people, and start it. Start playing around with it. You'll be amazed. Well, first of all, it's very easy, but you'll be amazed at how much less you're doing other things. Less time you're spending in email, less time you're doing some of those other things that you do every day. So we are at our end, but I have lots of things for you, so don't take off just yet. First of all, if you need help, there's a lot of resources out there for you. For example, let me go to a URL. Your internal site, where you have your IT information, has a lot of resources in there as well. I'm going to put the URL in chat for you. You probably already know what it is, but I'm putting it in there for you anyway. So that's one place, in chat. The other place is we have free training on Teams and meetings, and more details with Teams and meetings, and more topics about Teams and meetings. If you want to register for any of those free classes or watch recordings of other ones, I put that URL in chat as well, so that's there too. And then I'm doing a feature of WebEx meetings. So we're back in meetings again, not Teams. If you were a part of my team, though, I'd be able to do this there. This is called file transfer. So what it just did is it opened up a dialog box on your screen, a big white box that should say file transfer. From there, what I'm doing is, in the background that you can't see, is I'm putting in two documents. They're kind of basically flyers, like a trifold that you fold up. One is called WebEx Meetings Trifold, and one is called WebEx Teams Trifold. And they're great because it's really quick. You stick it in your pocket, all the basics on how to do what we just saw today. So if you want either one of those two, click on the name of the file and then push the download button. You can sort of have to do one at a time. They both won't download at the same time. And then do the same thing to the next. You'll know you have it when the status says available. So while you're doing that, I'm still checking chats, don't see any questions at all. So either you're in total shock or you're okay. I'm going to stay on for a little bit with Kevin to make sure you guys are doing okay. If you're good to go and you have everything, I just want to first of all thank you. You are busy. And an hour just now, you could have done a ton of stuff. So thank you for spending it with me. I really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Linda.